I'm about to show you in this video lecture on how you can declare variables in C programming language correctly. Hi everyone, Besar to you here from Caraga State University and welcome to our first video on review lecture series in C programming. The purpose of this video lecture is to refresh you on the previous discussion on variables, data types, and variable declaration. I will also include in this video the naming convention to follow when you create variables and when you use a particular data type before you make a variable declaration. I will give you tips before this video ends for you to improve in declaring variables, so make sure you stick around. Let's start. What is a variable? From tutorialspoint.com, variables are the unique names you give to computer memory locations, which are used to store values in a computer program. Say, for example, you are declaring a variable with name age of value 21. In memory, upon creating the variable, it looks first for available memory space in RAM, and when found, assigns the name. For this case, it's age, then stores value 21. Variables make it easier to refer to memory addresses, since you do not have to memorize the physical address itself, like 00xBBA77, every time you access. When creating a variable name, can I use any combination of characters randomly? Well, the answer is no. When creating a variable name, one should follow the naming convention. First, a variable must start with a letter or an underscore. Any character other than this is not allowed. Second, it may contain letters, digits, and underscores on the succeeding character sequence. Third, there should be no space in between letters. So if you create a two-word variable name, make sure you omit the whitespace character. Or instead, with whitespace character, try replacing it with the underscore. Lastly, even though you have followed items 1 to 3 and the variable name formed is a keyword or a reserved word, it is still not valid. Thus, familiarize yourself with the different keywords in C to omit such mistake. To clearly illustrate these rules, please have an eye on the list provided. Which do you think are the correct variable names, and which are not? Did you get it right? Do we have the same answer? Good job! Okay, this time, pause the video and try to answer the self-check corner before you proceed in viewing the result. Did you answer all the items correctly? Great! Now it is time to move to the next topic. What is data type? From tutorialspoint.com, data types in C refer to an extensive system used for declaring variables or functions of different types. In other sense, it is a type of data you wish to associate to variable. Let's retake a look at the previous example. Having age as a variable name that will store age value from 0 to 130, the variable will be associated with whole numbers type, or for this case, an integer data type. So, what are the data types in C? Showing here are the data types in C programming language, divided into three groups: the primary, the user-defined, and the derived data type. All of these data types, except those colored blue on screen, like pointers and arrays, are keywords in C. The primary data group is further grouped into four. The char for character group having 1 byte size or 2 to the 8 bits, equivalent to 256 characters, and signed ranges values from 0 to 235, while the signed ranges from negative 128 to positive 127. Char data type not only store characters but can also store integer values ranging from those values mentioned. For the floating point data type, this is for the group of real numbers like 3.1415 or negative 37.5. This group is consists of three data types: the float, double, and long double. that varies depending on how big the floating point value would be, where the biggest is in the long double. The third group is the whole number group or the integers. This group has 7 data types. Among these 7, the int type varies its size depending on the type of system you are using. When you have a 32-bit system, to run the program, it can only have values ranging from negative 32,768 to positive 32,767 for the signed, and for the unsigned, from 0 to 65,535, that is equivalent to 2 bytes or 2 to the 16. And lastly, void, which actually stores nothing. All of these data types under primary is also referred to as scalar data types. It means they can only store one value at a time. Moving on to the user-defined group are the data types enum for enumeration, used to enumerate things like the name of the days in a week or the months in a year. The type def, on the other hand, is used to create a new type of data. And the last group is a derived group. This group is capable of creating groups of data into a single variable. Each of these data types here has different requirements in grouping values. Data types from user-defined and derived groups will be discussed in succeeding lectures. So if I will give you a list of values, can you associate them with the correct data type? Let us see. Okay, this time pause the video again and try to answer this self-check corner for data types before you proceed in viewing the result. Have you answered all the items correctly? Great! Now let us proceed to the last topic. Why is there a need to perform a variable declaration in C? In C programming, it is a must to define variables before using them. As discussed before, variables store data. The data will be stored in a memory address. To store this data to that address, C needs to associate the variable to a memory address first. Imagine this. You want to deposit your 10,000 Unifast allowance in the bank. For you to do this, you have to have a bank account before the actual deposit. Thus, you will apply to have an account number, which is the variable, to store your allowance, which is the value, in a filer, the memory allocation that keeps your record. That is why C needs every single variable to be declared to associate it to memory allocation for the storage of values. Because when it happens you forgot, the C compiler will raise a reference error. Here is the syntax that you should follow for you to define variables in C correctly. For the mandatory parts, key in the data type followed by the variable name. The optional features give you the leverage to set a default value, and you may also add another variable names in a single declaration. To show you this, please refer to the given examples. Okay, this time, pause the video again and try to answer the self-check corner for the variable declaration, and play the video again when you're done. Did you get it right? Good job! That's all for this video lecture. But before we end, let's wrap it up. In summary, variables are used to store data. Data types, on the other hand, are used to define variables on the type of data it will store and the amount of memory space it needs. With variable declaration, we need to create a variable before the actual use. Did you know that data types are by default signed? Variables by default can store the negative and positive values, but when declared obviously with the unsigned, all values will only be 0 and above. If you have comments or questions during the discussion, please leave a message in the comment section or in the discussion forum provided. Hope you learned something. See you on the next video of the series. And remember, there's a lot of fun in programming. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.